Good morning to everybody. This is the second week of our review sessions for the play of the hand material. And this week we focused on promotion, length, and finessing as ways to develop extra tricks. So let's kind of review. We'll start first with a review of play of the hand, of the making a plan, and then we'll go into the others.
Okay.
Okay, does everybody see the making the plan?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, as I told you earlier, first class, this making a plan handout is actually the class in a nutshell because most of what we're going to be talking about is on this hand. Most of what we do here is even what higher level players, more experienced players do to come up with how they're going to play a hand. And the first part of play of the hand, that if you don't change anything else about your play after this class, if you would at least stop and make a plan, take just a moment to think about how your hands fit together and how you can make a plan. That's going to change your ability to make your contract so much. If you just stop for a minute and kind of consider it back and forth, even if you feel like you're not sure which thing you should do or how you should do it, just the fact that you're training yourself to stop and think about it before you play is going to make a big difference in how you approach it and what your scores turn out to be too. Because if you're making a plan, you're ahead of the game of the people that just start playing and hope that things work out. So, all right. So the ABCs are, and again, a little reminder, the ABCs that I'm using are Audrey Grant's ABCs, but they're a little bit different than the ABCs she uses in this book. In this book, she uses what she calls plan, PLAN. It's basically the same thing she's doing here. It's just different order for some of the things. Okay, so the first thing is assess the situation. That's A. Assess the situation. All that means is how many tricks do you have to make? How many tricks can you count between your two hands? And so what's the difference? The difference is the number that you need to figure out how to make. When you do this, remember that there's a difference between whether or not you're playing in a suit or a no trump contract. In a no trump contract, we count winners. That is, how many tricks can we see that we'll be able to make without losing a trick? That's how we always count them. It's without losing a trick, how many can you make? And both of these are from the point of view of the declare. So looking at your hand, looking across at the dummy, suit by suit, how many winners can you see in that suit that you can take before you have to lose something? For a suit contract, we count losers. How many losers per suit do you have? And then we need to figure out how to get rid of losers. Winners, we try to figure out how to get more winners. Losers, we figure out how to try to get rid of losers. So then once you know what your goal is, either 2 or 3 more winners or get rid of 1 or 2 losers, then you browse the checklist. You take a look at the checklist to see what things on the checklist, what tools do I have to either get more winners or less losers. And the way that you do these is there's only really 4 things you can do. One of these 4 things is going to be how you get those extra tricks that you need taken care of. It's finessing, promotion, length, and trumping and dummy. No matter how high you go in bridge, you're going to be using one of these 4 every time. It may be kind of a adjustment to it or squeeze play, in play, a lot of different things that you can do, but it's basically using one of these four things to improve what you can do with the hand. And this week we're talking about three of them: finessing, promotion, and length. Next week we'll talk about trumping and dummy. And then the last thing is consider the order that you need to do things in. So you know what you need to do, you know which tool you're going to need to use to do it. Then you need to figure out what order do I need to do things in. And we've talked about that generally you're going to draw your trumps first. That's usually the first order of business. The only time you don't do that, or one of the main times you don't do that, is if you need to trump in dummy. That's a way to get extra tricks. And when we do that, we need to keep our cards in dummy, as many cards as we need to do that trumping to develop the extra tricks. So sometimes we can't pull our trump until we've developed those extra tricks. But that's not the normal thing. The normal thing is we draw the tricks first. Another one of the ideas is to play the high card from the short side first. If you've got high cards on one side and high cards on the other side, you need to play the high cards from the short side first to keep you from getting stuck over there. If you have a king queen in the dummy and you have an ace in your hand, if you play the ace first and then lead to the king queen, you have nothing to lead back to the longer hand. So it's important to just get in the habit of playing the high card from the short side first. We don't always do that if we have to finesse, or if there's other reasons. There's some times that we won't do that, but that should be the main thing that you think about, the usual way you proceed. Then usually you want to develop any extra tricks that you have early. If you take your high cards, the ones you know you're going to get, and then try to develop your extra tricks, what you usually do is just let the opponents get in to get whatever they can get. And by the time you come back and try to get what you can, it's too late. You can't develop what you need to develop. And that's kind of one of the importance of the making a plan from the beginning. So you figure out what you need and when you need it. That falls into the last mention here, is be in the right place at the right time. If you've made a plan, for instance, you know you need to finesse in spades for the between the ace and the queen, you want the finessing for the king. You need to make sure that when you do that, you are in the right place, like in your hand, if the ace queen is in dummy, so you can be in your hand to lead towards that finesse. That means you need to keep an entry, a winning card in your hand, so you can get to there when you need to make the finesse. This all needs to be considered. So assess the situation, figure out what you need, browse the checklist, figure out what you're going to use, and then consider the order. Are there any problems? Is there anything I need to worry about in order to put my plan into effect? If so, make the arrangements that you do those things in the proper order. Okay, so let's go on and talk first about promotion and length. And before we talk about that, I did a handout, gave you a handout, which I forgot to attach as an attachment. Sorry, you'll get it after this session is over. But this handout is really just, it calls itself Relevant Percentages for Bridge Players. And it's got a lot of, I think, really interesting things in it. The main thing that
You gave us this.
yes,
You,
what?
you gave us this.
I know I didn't. I try to send the handouts to you before this review so you can look at them while I'm talking about them. And I didn't send you this for you to look at online. So if you weren't in class,
Oh,
you didn't get
okay.
this.
Yeah, but we have a hard copy.
Yeah, you got a hard copy in class. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we spent a long time going over it. So, okay, the main thing you want to look at on this handout is the percentages of cards that are left um, and the card division between two hands. In other words, it's mainly how should you expect the cards to break? The general rule is that even cards do not split evenly. So if there are even cards missing, if you are looking to see what the split is and what you can expect to get in a suit, if you have four cards out, if the opponents hold four cards, that's an even number, they're expected not to split evenly. They should split 2-2, a 3-1 rather than 2-2. Odd cards tend to split as evenly as possible. So if you have five cards out, they will generally split 3-2. 3-2. So even, it's going to split pretty evenly, but not exactly evenly, is the usual thing. Odd cards will split as evenly as possible. But here are the actual percentages that you can kind of see. Four cards out. If there are four cards out, it will split 2-2 evenly 41% of the time. It'll split 3-1 50% of the time. So if you have to figure out that you need to get this suit and it has to be a 2-2 split for you to make this work, then you might want to try another alternative. Sometimes this is all you can try, and so then you just do it, but you should do it having the idea in mind of what your chances are of getting something to work. And this helps both with probability and length, promotion and length. You need to know what the chances are that you're going to get the split that you need to get to make happen what you need to happen. If there are five cards out, an uneven number, five cards are going to split 3-2 68% of the time. That's about 70% of the time. They're 3-2. Only about 4% of the time are they going to be 5-0. About a third of the time, they're going to be 4-1. So most of the time, it's going to be 3-2 or 4-1. Notice in the four cards, most of the time, it's going to be 2-2 or 3-1. Very rarely will it be 4-0. The split where all the cards are in one hand in every category is very unusual. Those are the main two that you need to think about, because that's usually what we have to worry about when we're looking at our trump suit. Usually they're either 4 out or 5 out. But occasionally we have to worry about the 6-card split, because sometimes we have a 7-card suit and we want to know, well, what are the chances of how it's going to split? Well, it's going to split exactly evenly only 35% of the time, because that's not, they tend to split not exactly evenly. But it will split 4-2 49, or nearly 50% of the time. 6-0 only 2% of the time. I know you guys always feel like that 6-0 and 5-0, you always get those, but not really. It's not very often. Just when it comes up, it's a killer. But most of the time, you can expect one of these other ones to happen. Okay, this number 2, and I'm just going to go quickly through the others because these are the ones that I really kind of wanted you to say. By the way, do you need to memorize these percentages? Absolutely not. No. But have an idea kind of what your chances are. Kind of have a feeling that 3-1 is most of the time or half the time in a 4 when you have 4 out. And nearly all the time, it's 2-2. So between those two, that's 90% of the time. So, you have a good chance of it being 3-1 or 2-2, not 4-0. That's really all you need to remember. And really just the ones that are the 4 cards out and 5 cards out, that's the most common thing you need to worry about. Okay, here is one that is the probability of the opponent's uh, roughing on a particular round. If you have two cards out, on the first round, there's a 48% chance they'll rough. And by the second round, there's a 100% chance. So it depends on the number of cards are out. This intuitively should make sense to you, but it does help you see that the more cards they have, the less chance they have of roughing. So a lot of times you're thinking they have about 5 cards, usually close to a percentage of a suit we're looking at. That would mean they're having about a third of the time they're going to rough on the second one. And by 100% of the time, they're going to be roughing by the third one. And that makes sense because if we think of the fact that the split is most likely to be 3-2. So that means that one of them generally is going to have two, and then they would be roughing after that. This is the probability of a drop. Um, if you're missing the king, if you're missing the queen or the jack, this one is harder to see. It comes into play when we think about the rule 8 ever, 9 never, about deciding whether to finesse. We're going to talk about finesses a little bit later today. This is just the probability of points in a hand. Let me make this a little larger for you. Okay, this is the probability of high card points in a hand. You have very little probability, okay, of having no points in your hand, 0.4. So one time out of every 200, you will have no points in your hand. And the chances of you having between 31 and 37
Happens to me
points
all
in
the
your
time.
hand here is way less than that. Somebody ask a question?
No, I
Okay.
just said probability of 0 points happens to me all the time.
I know. It's right. It feels like that, right? That's the same
Yeah.
about that 5-0 split. You think you get that all the time, but really you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
The chances of having most of the chances of you having are going to be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12 points. That's the most common. And that kind of makes sense. Ordinarily, if everything were divided evenly every time and there's 40 points in the deck, everybody would get 10 every time. So it makes sense that it's going to cluster around there. Common hand patterns. The most common hand patterns are the ones that are the most evenly distributed. So 4-4-3-2, 20% of the time. 4-3-3-3, 10% of the time. 5-3-3-2, 15% of the time. So between these top three, not the 4-4-4-1, they just put that third because of the way they're counting these out. But the 4-4-4-1 is only 3% of the time. Notice the top three, 4-4-3-2, 4-3-3-3, and 5-3-3-2 are the no trump distributions. All the rest of these have at least a singleton or a doubleton in it. But so nearly 50% of the time, you've got one of those pretty, what we call flat hands. Pretty flat hands. That's what you've got. Over here on the back, this is probability of a partnership having a fit. That's 8 cards in a chosen suit. This is important because of the idea of the law of total tricks. The law of total tricks says if one pair has a fit, the partnership has a fit, the other pair will also have a fit. And if both of you have a fit, you should be safe fitting to the number of tricks you have between you in the suit. And this is just telling you what the probability of you having a good fit is. Okay, then the last thing down here are just miscellaneous things about bridge probabilities. The total number of hands that a player can receive is 635 billion. That's a hand, individual hand. So whichever hand you have right now, you're going to have to wait for 634, 999, more hands to be played before you get that hand again. The actual deal of the four people at the table receiving the same cards is, I don't even know what that number is, but it's really, really high. So you're never going to see the same deal. And possible auctions, even if you have the same deal, is incredibly high. So in bridge, you're playing different things every time. Then this is just giving you the odds of what you've got. Having 13 cards in a suit, 169 million to 1. This is going to happen if you play about 26 boards. That's a regular game, twice a week. It's going to take you 60,000 years to get that. Never seen it, of course. 8 cards in a suit, 8 cards in a suit. We see sometimes that's about 213 to 1. That's once a month. 7 cards in a suit. You usually have that once a session. 6 cards in the suit, you'll have 4 times in a session. At least one singleton you have, frequently. The odds are just 2 to 1. So you'll have that about 2 out of every 3 hands that you play. A void, though, is about 19 to 1. So you don't get that frequently. But if you're playing 26 cards a session, you're probably going to get a void at least once. Having the ace, king, queen, jack, 10 in the suit, which we think we never get, does happen, once every 2 or 3 months if you're playing a lot. 4 aces, a hand with no points, only happens, Nancy, 278 times to 1. So that's about once a month if you're playing about 50 boards a week. Okay. And then the Yarborough, which is a special hand described years ago when people first started playing these kinds of decks of cards. A Yarborough, which is a hand with no 10. Everything is 9 or below. That is 1827 to 1. You're only going to have that about twice a year, playing a lot all the time. Okay, so those are probabilities. Again, the important ones are the first page, the first on the first page that we looked at. So let's talk about actual play. And this is the handout that we talked about for promotion and length. In the part about promotion, we think about the idea that high cards are valuable. So if you have an ace, king, queen, jack, 10, that's good. You've got 5 tricks. But even if you have the king, queen, jack, 10, that's really good too, because then you know that you have all the high cards except the ace. If you can get rid of the ace, your other cards move up and they're going to be good cards. This is true no matter how far down you have to go. As you get rid of the high cards, your high cards move up. And the higher the cards that you have to start with, the more valuable they are. When the side suit is divided unevenly, you want to make sure to play the high card from the short side first. And if you have to lose tricks to your opponents, you have to take your losses early. There's some examples in the book that we can look at that kind of illustrate these points. The first thing is where we just talked about that high cards are valuable. If you have the king, queen, jack, 10, when you knock out the ace, then the rest of your cards are going to be good. But if you're only going to have one loser here, or 3 winners, depending on which way you're looking at it. If you have this breakdown, Queen Jack 10 opposite the 4-3-2, then your high cards are still going to be good. If the Ace King is gone, the 10 is definitely going to be good. Here you should have 2 losers or 1 winner, depending on how you want to look at it. Then this last, the Jack 10-9-8 versus the 5-4-3-2, the Ace, King, and Queen are out, but you've got the Jack 10-9-8 solid. So that means for sure when the Ace, King, and Queen are played, your 8 is going to be good. It's going to be promoted up to be a good card. So the higher the cards you have in the suit, the more likely they are to be promoted and to be valuable to you. Now, when a suit is divided unevenly, this is where we need to worry about playing the high card from the short side first. And there's an example in the book. Let's see where it is. It's over on page 38. Where you can see that in this situation, in the diamonds, for instance, you've got the King, Jack 10-9-8-2. And in the dummy, you've got the Queen 4. Well, you need to be sure to take the Queen first. Do you see that? Over
Yes.
here in the short side. Because if you play the King first to knock out the Ace, right? Which is what you want to do, is knock out the Ace. If you play the King first and knock out the Ace, you play the little card from here. Now you're going to have to play a small card here to go to the Queen. You are stuck over here. If you have a way to get back, and in this case, you could use the clubs, lead a small one to get over to the Ace, then it's not such a disaster because you can get back. But the correct way to play this hand would be to either be on this side and lead the Queen, or lead a small card from this side and then play the Queen, hoping that that knocks out the Ace. If it doesn't knock out the Ace, then you play a small one to go back and play your King. And you keep doing that until the Ace is played, but now you're over on the side where you can keep leading them. This makes sense to everybody. This is why that idea of playing the high card from the short side first is so important. You see how you get stuck on one side if you don't do that. And the only way to avoid that is if you can get back to the other hand, but that requires you to have a high card in the other hand to get there. And it requires you being able to get back in time to do it. Because when you're missing the Ace, you've got to lose to the Ace. If they manage to cash the other tricks that they have before you get to win and get back in with your Ace, the rest of those may not be good. So you have to make sure you try to play things as efficiently as you can. Okay, the next thing we talked about was losing tricks to the opponents, that you need to take your losses early, because you nearly always have to lose some tricks to your opponents, right? Because you're not playing a grand slam every time. You're not playing that you can take every trick there is. Therefore, the opponents have to be taking some tricks. So let's look at this situation. The bid was 3 no trump, and the lead was the Queen of Hearts. The Queen of Hearts over here was led, the top of a sequence. So when we are playing 3 no trump, the Queen of Hearts is led. we'll look at our spades, and we're playing three no trump. So we count winners, right? Winners is what we count in no trump. So in spades, looking between the two hands, we have the ace and the king of spades. So we have two winners in spades. In hearts, we have two winners, the ace and king of hearts. In diamonds, we have two winners, the ace and king of diamonds. And then in clubs, we do not have any sure winners, do we? Because we have to lose something before we're going to get those club tricks. But once we lose the ace of clubs, we should have three
Right.
winning club tricks, right? Okay.
Right.
So when they lead the queen of hearts, we're going to take it either in the dummy hand or our hand, whichever one, but take it one of those sides. And then the next thing we do is start knocking out the ace of clubs, because that's the only thing standing in our way of taking 6, 7, 8, 9 tricks. We've got 2 spades, 2 hearts, 2 diamonds, and 3 clubs once the ace is gone. But we have to knock out that ace of clubs first. If we take the ace and king of spades, the ace and king of hearts, the ace and king of diamonds, and then lead a club to knock out the ace, what happens? They get all these other little cards they have. You have a loser in spades, you have a loser in hearts, you have a loser in diamonds, and then you're going to have the other losers, the one that you lost in clubs. That's 5 tricks. You can't afford that. You can only afford to lose 4. So you have to take your losses early. And this is nearly always true. Very rarely that you don't take your losses early. The only time you wouldn't take your losses early is if you have counted up and you have 9, in this case, 9 tricks. Then you don't need to lose anything. Then you just take the 9 tricks. Don't give up anything. Take your 9 tricks and then give up something if you have to. But usually, if we have to lose something, we do that early. Length. Length is where we need to worry about how the suit split, because length means that once we have knocked the cards out of the opponent's hand, all the other cards we have in that suit are good. So we just talked about even number out splits evenly, an odd number out splits as evenly as possible. So if you are missing 3 cards, they're most likely 2-1. 4 cards is most likely split 3-1. 5 is most likely 3-2. 6 is most likely 4-2, etc. So you need to have an idea of what the probabilities of them splitting are. So these are examples from the book, and they're over on page, starting on page 42. If we look at this suit, here we've got 6, 7, 8, 9. How many winners do we have in this suit, or losers, depending on how you want to look at it? Well, we can play the ace, king, queen, jack, even if they are 4-0, which is unlikely. But even if they're 4-0, worst split we could have, we are going to get all of these tricks. Do you see that? If we
Yes.
play the ace, king, queen, jack, all of their cards are going to be in, and we will have played these 3 cards under the ace, king, queen, jack. So now the 3 and the 2 have to be good. So you are going to get 6 winners in this suit, no losers in this suit. But let's look at this one. Ace, king, queen, 2, and we have 8 cards. What are the chances of us making the fourth card good. What is the most likely split here? The most likely split is 3-2. If we get the most likely split, the fourth card will be good. The ace, king, queen will take care of it. But when there are 5 out, although the most likely split is 3-2, a pretty likely split is 4-1. The really unlikely split is 5-0. If we have a 4-1 split and the jack is in the hand that has 4, then we're going to have to lose 1 trick. We will get 3 tricks, but we'll have 1 loser, 3 winners. This is the same situation as the one we just looked at, except they're divided differently here. We've got the king, queen on one hand and the ace on the other. We still have the same chance of making 4 tricks instead of just 3. But
Where
here,
are you? Where are you?
I'm on page 43 in the
43?
book. 43 in the book, middle of the page.
Middle of the page.
Middle of
Okay.
the page, yeah.
Okay.
When they're split this way, we need to worry about our rule of play the short high card from the short side first. We need to play the ace first and play a small one, then play a small one to go back over to the king and then the queen. That maximizes what we can get. And if we are a 3-2 split, we're still going to get 4 cards. If it's a 4-1 split, we're more likely, we still may get 4, but we're more likely to get 3 tricks. Then look at this situation. Now we're even less likely to get 3 tricks because the ace and king are the only 2 high cards that we have. So we're missing the queen, jack, 10, 8, 9. They're most likely split 3-2, but because we're missing all of those other high cards, we are only likely to get 2 tricks in this suit. We're more likely to have 2 losers in this suit. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Now, you may have a 4th trick available if you give up one of these first. Okay? Because you know that they're going to have to win a trick here. So if you give up one of your tricks early and just play one of these cards and let them win, because what they've got to win with are all the cards that are higher than yours, the queen, jack, 10, 9, 8. So 2 of those are going to be played on this loser that you've got. And then you pull your ace, king. And if you've got a good split, you will then make the 3rd card in the suit good. This is the idea of developing your long suits by using the length and also considering the promotion of the cards to figure out what you can get. Okay. Okay. Now, where am I now? Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
I used nearly all the examples and I didn't. Oh, here we go. Okay, this is talking about developing the length, how you use your plan to develop length when you need it in a suit. Okay. In this particular one, again, we're playing a three no trump contract. They are leading the three of spades. In this situation, they didn't have any um, sequences to use. So when we don't have that, we leave the fourth down from our longest and strongest suit. So that's the three in spades. So they led the three of spades. We're playing three no trump. So we look at spades. We have the ace, king, queen of spades. Those are three winners. Hearts. We have two winners, the ace and king of hearts. In diamonds, that's not right. Oh, this is supposed to be the 7-5-3-2. Okay. In diamonds, we have the 7-5-3-2 against the 9-8-6-4. So we have no winners in diamonds. Do you see that? No winners in
Yes.
diamonds.
Yes.
And in clubs, we've got three winners and three winners only. Even though we have four of the highest cards, we have to play them on top of each other. So we have three winners there, two winners in hearts, three winners in spades. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have to get another winner. And where does it have to come from?
Diamonds.
Come from diamonds, right? Because we don't have any other thing we can do. We've already are winning three spades and three clubs. And it's pretty clear that after we play the ace and the king of hearts, we've only got six. There's seven out. We are not likely to be able to get one of those. So we have to go to our longest suit, which is our diamond suit. And our diamond suit is headed by the 9. So we've got the ace, king, queen, and jack are out. So are we, that seems like we shouldn't even be able to win a diamond trick, right? If we've got 4 on each side and the ace, king, queen, jack are out, we wouldn't win any, right? Well, the deal is that the ace, king, queen, jack are out, but there are 5 out, and they're most likely split 3-2. So the ace, king, queen, jack 2 could be a split, or the king, queen, ace, jack 2 could be a split, or whatever. The split could be different, but if it's 3-2, then you're going to have the fourth trick good. Even if it is split 4-1, as long as either the ace, king, queen, or jack is the one, you'll still be able to do it.
So you win.
Ace,
So you win your spade first because that's what they led.
yeah,
And then you go to your diamonds?
exactly right. Exactly right. You have to uh, take your losses early, which means you've got to take whatever losses you've got in diamonds early. Now, luckily, they led spades first, and you have 3 winners in spades. Hearts would be a little more of a problem because you just have 2 winners in hearts. And so if you had to lose those right off the bat, they might get some trouble. But it's more likely that they're going to lead spades because that's where they started. So they lead a spade, you win a spade, you play a diamond, you lose a diamond. You know, you lose the diamond, they then probably will lead spades again because if you lose the diamond over here, they're going to lead spades back to their partner. And so you will win you lead diamonds again. You're going to have to lose 3 diamonds, but look how these diamonds are split. This is how we would have expected to have them split. One side has the king 10, the other has the ace queen jack. They were likely to split 3-2, and so they're going to win 3 tricks with the ace, the king, the queen, whatever. You're going to win 3 tricks, but then your fourth trick, this lowly 2 or the lowly 4 over here, should be a winner. but you have to keep hitting the diamonds. Don't take a trick until you've knocked all those diamonds out. And you also have to have thought about this in advance, because just before you started making a plan, just think about the fact, how you have played this before? You probably would have thought, well, I can see all these high cards. I'm just going to have to play these and hope that they throw away the wrong card. If you're not making a plan, that's usually as far as your thought process goes. Well, if you do that, you're not going to be able to get the fourth diamond that you need, because you can't lose anything in the other tricks. Like you can't lose the extra heart, because if you do, then you've got too many losers. You aren't able to get enough winners. So that's why you have to make the plan from the very beginning. And we've talked about this already. This is watching your transportation. This is the idea, really, of playing the high card from the short side first. You need to watch out where you're going to wind up. In this case, you've got the ace, king, 4-3-2 opposite the 7-6-5. If you play your ace, king, notice that the three cards you have left are less than the one that you have on the other side. So you need to watch out if that's going to make a difference to you. If you play your ace king first and then play a loser, you have no way to get back. So the best way to do this is to lose one first, then play a small one to the ace king. Okay. There's a section on making the two of these work together, but to me, those are more intuitive. If you have both high cards and length, you're going to promote your high cards to be winners, and then you will have length left. Actually, promotion is kind of like length. Length works because when all the other cards are gone, the lower ones are winners, but in a way, they've kind of been promoted up because all the high cards are gone. So either way you look at it, you're using promotion and length working together. Finally, when you have to decide which suit to develop, because if you're in the lucky position of having an 8-card suit, then you have 2 8-card suits. You want to figure out which one you're going to use. Well, the one you're going to use is the one that is split most unevenly. For the longer suit, this case, you have only 7 in the suit. Here you have 8 in a very similar suit, but you would choose this suit to play. This is a longer suit. If you look down here, here's an example of you having 2 8-card suits to choose from, but you would choose the one that is most unevenly split. Unevenly split. Because, see, these little cards on the short side don't really do you any good. They're going to fall against the ones above. But if you have an unevenly split suit like this one, this is the one to choose. If you get to choose between 2 8-card suits, choose the one that's most unevenly split, because then the lower cards do make a difference. They will be left over after you knock the other ones out. Does this make sense to everybody? I hope. Okay, so that's promotion and length. And let me say one other thing about this. When you are trying to make your plan and deciding what you need to do, especially in no trump, if you have to develop a trick from somewhere and you're not sure where it's going to come from, it nearly always can come from a longer suit you have. So if you need to decide between which suit to develop, see which one is the longer. If you have an 8-card suit and a 7-card suit, pick the 8-card suit. That's going to come out with an extra trick for you way more often than a 7-card will. And if you have 2 8-card suits, pick the one that is most unevenly divided. That's how you usually get your extra tricks at a no trump contract. That's where this usually works the best. is a no trump contract. Promotion and length do work in suit contracts, but more often we have to worry about the trumping element. Um, so and the opponent's getting in with trumps. That's why we have to pull trumps first. Okay, so that's promotion and length. Then we'll go on to the next chapter, which is finessing. Finessing seems kind of difficult, but it's not really if you just remember that in essence, what you're doing is you are trying to make a high card good. When there is another card out that's higher than that card, you want to figure out a way to make your high card good. Let's the simplest example here. We have a king 4 opposite a 3-2. Here, promotion, length, all of that other stuff is not going to be any good in this suit. If we need to take a trick in this suit, because our plan has told us we have one more trick we have to win, or one less trick we have to lose. So ordinarily we would say we have no winners in this suit and we have 2 losers in this suit, right? We just are counting either way, counting for suits or no trump. We would say we have no sure winners and we have 2 likely losers. But when this is, what are the circumstances where the king would be good in this setup? Well, the king is going to be good if the ace is over here on your left-hand side. If the ace is over here on the right-hand side, your king cannot win. So in this case, we want the king to win. We lead a small card towards the king. If this person does not play the ace, we play the king. If this person plays the ace, we play small and our king is good. That is what a finesse is. If we play small, this person does not play the ace, we play the king, and this person has the ace and plays it, well, we have no winners in that suit. We have 2 losers in that suit. But going into this situation, when you were trying to finesse for a card, in this case, the king, all we're missing is the ace, then it is a 50-50 chance as to whether the ace is on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. If it's on the left-hand side, you win every time. If it's on the right-hand side, you lose every time, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just a straight 50-50 shot. You may take some other information into account, like if there was competitive bidding during the auction and the person on your right bid this suit, then I would think, well, he's probably got the ace and this finesse is probably not going to work. So I might go on to try something else. But most of the time, you don't have the knowledge. And most of the time, or much of the time, you only have a couple of alternatives to work with. So you kind of have to have this finesse work. It doesn't work, you're not going to get your trick. But the nice thing about playing duplicate, by the way, instead of party bridge is this hand is going to be played multiple times and everybody is going to have the same outcome. They're either going to have the good luck or the bad luck. So it's how smart you were about deciding which way to go as to whether or not you're going to have the top score in duplicate. Now let's look at a little bit different example here. Here we are missing the king and we have the ace queen. This is a little bit confusing because it seems like the ace and the queen are both valuable, right? But what we're really doing is we're still finessing against one card that's out. Here, think about it this way. We want our queen to win. We know our ace is going to win. But here we want the queen to win. So what we're going to do is play a low card towards the queen. If the king is over here, we win. If the king is over here, we lose all the time. This one I think is pretty interesting because it doesn't make any difference if you play the ace first. The only difference it makes is this guy's king is going to be trapped over here. And so whichever, if he plays it or doesn't play it, you win. But if it's over here, you're always going to lose to the king. So you play a low card. If he does not play the king, you play the queen. Your queen is going to win unless the king was over here on the right side. Then you cash your ace, and that way you get 2 tricks in the suit. You're always going to get 1 trick in this suit. So people always think that the finesse is that you have the ace, king, queen, and you're missing the king. And that is correct. But what you're really doing is, to me, it's more helpful in looking at finesses overall to think about the fact that you know your ace is good. What you want to have is your queen to be good. And for your queen to be good, it makes a difference which side the king is on. If it's on one side, you win, the other side, you don't win. Let's look at another example. This is a little bit easier because here, when you have the ace, king, jack, you might as well play the ace first, just in case there's a singleton out. Now, in this case, the likelihood of there being a singleton queen, there's 6 cards out. 7 cards out. You've got 6, they've got 7. They're most likely split 4-3. The chances of there being a 5-0 split is not very good. The chances of there being a 6-1 split with the queen being the 1 is very unlikely too. So you need to worry about where is the queen, and you're trying to make your jack good. Your ace and your king are always going to be good. So here, what you do is you just lead a small card towards the jack. That's what you want to win. That's what the finesse is. You're always, no matter what the other cards are, high cards, whatever you've got, the card that you want to win is what you're finessing for. So you play the 2. If he plays the queen, you play the ace or king, and your jack is good. If this hand does not play the queen, you put in your jack. The jack will win. If this guy had the queen, it's going to lose. If this guy had the queen, it's the same 50-50 proposition. Okay. Sometimes you can finesse and repeat the finesse. So let's say that you want to make your king and your queen good. Okay. So you lead a small one. And if this guy does not play the ace, you play your king or queen. You're finessing. You play either one. You're finessing, hoping your king and queen, either one or both, are good. So if you put your queen in, he did not play the ace. If you put your queen in, if this guy doesn't play the ace, we now know where the ace is, right? The ace is over here. So now you know your king can be good also, right? You finesse first, you play low. He plays low. You play the queen. If he had the ace and he doesn't, your queen wins. Now you need to come back to this hand some way because you know this guy has the ace. Now you know that, right? So on your left-hand side, this guy had the ace, he would have played it. This guy has the ace. Now you know your king and queen are both going to win. Your queen has already won. So now when you get back to this hand, you lead a small one. And now he either does or doesn't play the ace. If he plays the ace, you play low. If he doesn't play the ace, you play your king. Now your king and your queen have both won tricks. You repeated the finesse. And this will work as long as your left-hand opponent has the ace. Your left-hand opponent has the ace, you have two tricks. If your right-hand opponent has the ace, you still have one trick, either the king or the queen. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Here's another example, the ace, queen, jack. Here we're missing the king. And what we'd like to do is have our ace, queen, jack all be good. Well, same principle applies. We hope the king is over here. So we can put in the small one. If he does not play the king, we play the jack. If he plays the king, we lose, but we still have two good tricks. But if this guy has the king, we've got three tricks, okay? Because if we play low and he doesn't play his king, we play the jack, then we come back over here because now we know he has the king. The other person didn't take it. We play the five, and if he doesn't play the king, we put in the queen. We know now that's the winner. And then we can play our ace. We've got three tricks there. You can finesse against two. If you're missing two cards, the ace, queen, 10, you will still lead low. And this time you will put in the smaller card that you have because it's more likely you'll be able to get two tricks if you play the smaller one instead of playing the queen, the one in the middle. So when you're missing two and they're separated like that, you finesse by playing the smaller one first. This situation is pretty much the same. We play low, and then we input the smaller one, the jack or the 10, even though here we're missing the king and the queen. We're not likely to get three tricks, but again, if this person has the king, queen, we will get three tricks. Okay, that is what you need to know about finesses. I'd really suggest for both of these chapters, because they're so important, that you look at the exercises that are at the end of the chapter for both of these, because as we've said many times, there's a difference between me illustrating something for you and you having to make the decision about what to play yourself. That's why the exercises in the back of the book are going to be so useful for you to be making decisions for yourself, and that helps you really understand how the finesses work. Okay, guys, that is it for this one. I will see you all tomorrow in class where we're going to be talking about trumping and dummy. That is so exciting. All right. Any questions that you've got before we
Thank
say
you,
hello?
Sally.
All right.
Thank you, Sally.
See you guys later. That's the
Bye.
end.